Welcome to the Cognigy.AI 3.2 release webinar. Today we're going to present to you what our team has built over the past 3 months. 3 months ago, exactly today, we released Cognigy.AI 3.1 with amazing new features like, for example, conversational forms, on which we've since built and are now releasing Cognigy.AI 3.2. We have a lot of people on the call today who are already using Cognigy.AI in the capacity of partners or customers, but also have a couple of people on the call who have not yet worked with Cognigy and who have maybe not even yet worked with conversational AI. And they could also be interested in hearing a little bit of an overview of what conversational AI actually is and what Cognigy AI can do for them in general. So we're going to start with a quick overview of Cognigy AI and conversational AI in general. Cognigy AI is what we call a conversational AI platform. You can build conversational AIs, so artificial intelligences that you can talk to or chat with on top of that platform and orchestrate how they guide the user through the conversation and interface with backend systems. Those backend systems could be CRM systems, ERP systems, or any other system really that holds information that is useful during the conversation. Conversational AI can be used on many different channels, like chatbots on Facebook Messenger, other messengers, Slack or websites, phone systems, like for example Twilio, or voice assistants, like Alexa or Google Home. There's many different use cases for conversational AI, such as, for example, in customer service or customer support. Customers come to a website, enter the chat and chat with the chatbot about the issue they have. That might be something simple like resetting a password or something more complex like, for example, making or changing a booking. Then we have the second most common use case, which is business process automation. In this use case, we're automating company internal processes through the use of conversational AI. That can be processes in HR, it can be processes in procurement or other corporate functions that are standardizable and that can be automated in an easy fashion and can benefit from a conversational interface. There's many other use cases, like for example, e-commerce bots, customer experience, built-in conversational AI, so built into, for example, cars or home appliances, different use cases in HR, like for example, for recruiting, and many, many more. In order to show you what Cognigy AI does and what role Cognigy AI plays in deploying a conversational AI solution, I'm going to now show you a quick demo. Now what we see here on the screen is Cognigy AI, the conversational AI platform. Conversational AI consists of different components, different resources like logic, lexicons, and so on. But I'm going to start by showing you the front-end experience. So what is a user experience that we can reach with conversational AI? I'm logging into a web chat here, an element that is configured directly within Cognigy. And when I press Let's Go, my user experience starts. In this web chat here, I can book hotels in Asia, in Tokyo, and in Bangkok. What I can do is I can click one of these buttons, or I can use this persistent menu here on the left, or I can type my query in natural language directly into this form here. So maybe I say something like, I would be interested in Tokyo. The system recognizes what we're after and now pulls information about our query from a database, in this case, hotels in Tokyo. I select a hotel and I get some more information about it, as for example, the average price per night, and it's asking me whether I want to make a booking. Maybe that's too expensive, so I say something like, oh wow, that's expensive. How about Bangkok instead? Again, the system understands what I want and shows me hotels from Bangkok. Here, I pick one of the hotels and I now get to make a booking. When I make the booking, I will be asked when I arrive, when I depart, what my first name is, last name, and so on. And I can give this information one by one, or I can give a lot of the information all in one go. So for example, I could say, do you want to make a booking? Yeah, from tomorrow until next Monday. The next question that I'm getting asked now is, what's your first name? And I can continue the booking process from here. So I have provided several data points already in one sentence. Now, how does that all work in Cognigy? How do we set that up? In Cognigy, we configure what is called Cognigy flows. And here we have a flow for the travel booking that we just saw. We can chat with this flow by using the chat box over here. So we can do live debugging here, and we can see which path is the conversational AI taking. In this case, I'm getting a message, welcome Phil, it's great to have you back, because I've previously used this chat and it's personalizing the output message for me. I now choose Tokyo. I can see, okay, we're taking a different path. We're doing a database query and we're saying something. If a non-technical editor now wants to make changes to what the AI is doing, they simply click one of the say nodes and they can change the output that is going to the various channels. So here, for example, we have the default output, and here we have output that would go to Facebook Messenger or a web chat, like the one we saw. If we want to change something, say it's not Cognigy Travel Asia, but it's Cognigy Super Travel Asia, we can just make our changes here. We see a preview here immediately. It goes through the necessary approval processes, and then it goes live on Facebook Messenger immediately. So that is what Cognigy does in a nutshell. So now let me get back to the webinar and let me talk about what we are bringing out in Cognigy 3.2. So when our customers start with conversational AI, they're usually starting with what's called FAQs, or frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions are questions that customers might commonly ask. Like, for example, where can I change my booking? Or I've lost my luggage, how can I retrieve it? Or where can I find my booking ID? Things like that. Now, what the system does, it identifies the intent behind the user question. So what is the question that we're actually going to ask? And then they're going to give an answer. What this AI algorithm lets you do, it lets you ask a question in various different ways, and the system will still understand that it is the same question. For example, if I say, where can I change my booking? How do I change my booking? Or I want to change my booking, how do I do that? These actually all mean roughly the same thing and might warrant giving the same answer. So that's what an FAQ is. But what we see many of our customers doing now is that they're moving to the next stage of conversational AI, which is what we call conversational processes. So we're saying this is now the era of conversational processes, where companies move from the first steps they've taken with FAQs towards building full conversational processes where they actually solve the issues the customers have immediately. So rather than answering, to change your booking, go to URL X and enter your booking ID, we actually guide the user through the process of changing the booking directly. So if the user says, I need to change my booking, we then ask for the booking ID, for the email address, and then pull the booking out of a database, immediately helping the customer rather than just forwarding them to a different website or giving them a phone number to call. In business process management, you're structuring processes like shown on the right side. So what we had to do is we had to bridge this gap from the conversational world to the business process management world with our tool. So the process of changing the booking can be seen on the right side. First, we're identifying what is the intent behind what the user has said. The intent in this case is changing a booking. Now then we ask for the booking ID, validate it. We're asking for the email address, validate that one as well, and then retrieve the booking. All the while, you can still ask FAQ questions. For example, here we're saying, what's the booking ID? And then the user says, where can I find a booking number? Which is, of course, not the answer for the booking ID, but an FAQ question. We're giving the answer, after which the user then gives us the correct booking ID. Now, this is only one part of the puzzle. We need to be able to model these processes in an easy way. The second part is that we need to integrate with third-party systems. So we get the booking ID and we validate it. This can be done, of course, in the same system, or it can be done using a piece of code. But it can also be done in a third-party system. Like, for example, here with email, we're validating the email against Salesforce, our CRM system, where we check, does this user actually exist? And if they do exist, we then take the booking ID and the email address and retrieve the booking from a booking system, like, for example, Cloudbeds. Now, what are the things that we're introducing with Cognigy 3.2 that enable you to carry on full conversational process automation. The first new feature we have is what we call Conversational Processes. With Cognigy 3.1, we introduced the concept of conversational forms, which we're now taking up a step and calling Conversational Processes. We've extended the graphical editor and are now allowing the triggering of external actions directly from within the processes. You can trigger any actions because these actions are in fact Cognigy flows, giving you the full power of the Cognigy Flow Editor, our powerful workflow engine that allows you to build any kind of logic directly into your processes. We've also added the ability to jump back into a process that was finished halfway. So for example, if you have a 20 question process, and after 10 questions, the user exits the process to do something else. The user can then later on continue the process on the 11th question when they come back, and they don't have to restart it all from the beginning. Of course, you can give the user the choice to do that, or of course, if they want, they can also restart from the beginning. Now, as we remember, the second piece of the puzzle was integrations. We need to be able to interface with third-party systems, like, for example, Zendesk or Salesforce. We're enabling that through the Cognigy integration framework. We're saying integrate with anything. You can write standard modules in JavaScript and integrate any NPMs that are out there on the market. NPMs are pre-built modules that are available on the NPM registry, and many vendors like Microsoft, Salesforce, HubSpot, and others are releasing integrations to their systems as these NPMs, which makes integrating Cognigy with these platforms even easier. When you build these modules, the function in these modules become flow nodes. So you can build a module with many different functions that then appear in the Cognigy flows, and the developers can configure the user interface that will be shown to the business users directly within the code. All the while, we have a graphical management tool called the Integration Framework tool inside the Cognigy UI that lets you upload and manage new modules. Now you might think, that's all great, but how secure is this? Because of course, in order to interface with Salesforce or HubSpot or any other system, you need credentials, like an API key or maybe username and password. So we're introducing a third new concept here, which is Cognigy Secrets. With Secrets, we allow the secure storage of credentials on a project level. You can create credentials, for example, for HubSpot, and save them in the system. The system will save them encrypted in the database, so it's super secure, and even if your database gets breached, nobody will get to your credentials. The credentials are only made available during runtime to your custom nodes to then connect to the third-party system. Let me show you this in our tool directly. So if we go back to Cognigy, and into this project here, I will start by showing you a web chat again. This is support web chat. So I say get support. It says, welcome to Cognigy support. How can I help you? Say I'm a returning customer and I have a question about my tickets. Say I have a question about my tickets and it says, I can help you with that. Let's get started. Please tell me your email address. I give it my email address and the process now does several things for me. It checks in the CRM system whether my user actually exists. If it does exist, it says welcome back, first name, last name, and then it looks up my tickets in Zendesk. Of course, we could have put another authentication step here in the middle, having to enter a password or some authentication token, but for simplicity's purposes, we haven't done that here. So now I'm getting these 3 tickets, and these are not mock-ups, these are coming actually directly from our system, from Zendesk. It says, please select a ticket you would like to see the details about. I select one, and then here I get the ticket, and now I could ask questions about it. Now in another case, I could be a new user, and it says, how can I help you? I want to report a bug. And then it says, please tell me your email address. And maybe I call myself phil456@cognigy.com. It checks in the CRM and figures out, okay, this user doesn't exist yet. So I need some more information. What's your first name and last name? So I'm now entering my information here, and it now creates this user for me in HubSpot immediately. And if I pull up my HubSpot, I can show you that. So if I open HubSpot here and I now search for the email address that I just entered, we can see a user was created exactly with the first name and last name that I put in, and that user was automatically connected to our company here. So we're interfacing from the process directly with this backend system. Now let's look at how this is actually done in Cognigy. So what we have is we have this support process here. In processes, you can create messages, questions of various types, conditions, and actions. So here we are asking a question, please tell me your email address. Then we're saying, let me see if I can find you. And then we're triggering this action here, find user in HubSpot. If the user has been found, we're then saying, well, come back, first name, last name, look up the tickets in Zendesk. If the user has not been found, we're going down this right path here. We're asking for first name and last name, and then we're creating the user in HubSpot. You can easily add and change actions. They can be found in the drop down here. You can add them, of course, by just selecting an action here and then adding a new action into that. Now you might ask yourself, where do these actions come from? So this find user in HubSpot action, for example, is actually a Cognigy flow. You can see it here on the left side. So if I click on the find user in HubSpot flow, you can see the flow that carries out this action. First, we're doing a find contact by email in HubSpot, and then if it doesn't exist, we're removing HubSpot from the context. Similarly, if we look at the find tickets in Zendesk action or flow, you can see we're doing a query against Zendesk, and then we are formatting the data that comes out. In this case, we're using a say note to say something about the tickets, and then we're using some code here to format this in a user-friendly manner. We could have done the code also instead in a say note, but I just wanted to make sure that you can see that. Of course, you can use any feature in the Cognigy flows here, including code and everything else that you're used to from the Cognigy flow editor. Now, the nice thing and the important thing is that for the business users, for the people using the processes, this complexity is hidden. The business user, all they need to know is, okay, I have an input, which is email, and I have an output, which is HubSpot in the context. Now I have this question here, which is email, and now all I needed to add was this find user in HubSpot action, and I'm done. I don't need to know what it does. I don't need to know how it works, because one of my super users or developers has prepared this action for me to use in my processes. We can tag certain flows as process actions, and only then will they appear in the Cognigy process editor. Now, of course, a question would be, where do these nodes come from? Why do we all of a sudden have a HubSpot node? Well, that is where the Cognigy integration framework comes into play. We now, in this menu here, have a module subfolder, and this module subfolder shows all the modules which I have installed into my system. These are organization-based, so that, of course, if I install something for my organization, someone else will not have it in theirs, and I can only see the modules that I have installed. And in these modules here, I can see the different functions. I install these modules using the Cognigy integration framework, which you can see here on the upper right. So for example, here I have the HubSpot module, and I get some information here about it on the right side, and some more information about how to structure the secrets and so on. And I can upload them by simply dragging and dropping a Cognigy module here into the system, and it will be verified, validated, and uploaded and installed into the system, and then I can use it from within my flows. Now you might ask yourself, where do we get the modules from? Do we have to build all of them ourselves? And the answer to that is no. We have pre-built a number of modules already, and we've decided to open source all of those modules. So we put them on a repository in GitHub. We MIT licensed all of them. So you can now use these modules that we have already built, and you can download the compiled and finalized versions of the modules, so the zip files. You can download those on our documentation page. Anyone can contribute to the GitHub repository, or you can use them as blueprints for your own modules. So you can download them, extend them, and if you wish, you can upload them again to our GitHub repository as well. There is detailed documentation available, and that is both on the GitHub repo and on our documentations page. Just to give you an idea of how easy it is to build these modules, one of our developers built the Salesforce module, and it really took him 15 minutes to build that. Took one of the blueprints, used the Salesforce I think it's called JS Force NPM, exposed that in a function, made sure everything worked, uploaded it into the system, and from that moment on, you could run SQL queries, so Salesforce Object Query Language queries directly from within Cognigy. It doesn't get a lot easier than that. The second thing we're introducing today is Cognigy Live Chat. A lot of our customers and partners have asked for this feature because they want an agent to be able to take over a conversation from a bot and carry on a conversation with a human user. So what we've done is we've integrated agent handover directly into Cognigy AI. Previously, we had enabled this for several different channels like Facebook and Twilio, but now we have it built directly into Cognigy as well, fully integrated, which gives us some nice new features, like we can also create AI support for the agent, meaning you can chat with a user, but you can use an AI on the right side here that will help you to communicate with your user and, for example, to retrieve information from third-party systems or to do things like compiling graphical output like galleries for your user. We also allow the agent to manage the contact profile of the user they're talking to, and we are making full transcripts available, but that is optional. So for GDPR reasons, for example, you can turn that off. But if you have legal reasons to maintain the transcripts, then you have them. Let me show you how that works directly within Cognigy. So on the one hand, we have the web chat. Let me bring that here on the left side so we can see the user that is chatting with the agent. And then on the other side, we have the live chat, which I'm going to pop here on the right side. So the user says, let's go, and is chatting with a bot, and maybe they say something like, I want to go to Bangkok. Bangkok, the system doesn't understand, so of course we could have configured the system in a way so that it actually does get it. But here, the user means Bangkok, but they're spelling it incorrectly, and then maybe we say Bangkok. They say still not sure. Can you rephrase again? And then maybe I say Bangkok, and they really don't get it. So now it says, do you want to talk to an agent? And I press yes. Now what happened here is that a handover has happened. There's a handover node in the flow, and now it says you're waiting to talk to an agent. This message is, of course, definable in the Cognigy flow, and also this button down here. Because whenever the user says something now, they will get this message because they're in the waiting queue. They can exit the waiting queue again by clicking on Take Me Back to the Bot or triggering a certain predefined intent, and then they will be back with the bot. But in this case, of course, we want to help this user. So we as an agent are coming in, and we can see the message history. You can see, okay, this is what they talked about. Let's help them. And maybe I say something like, hi, this is Phil, your agent. How can I help? And we can see the message coming in here. And maybe we say, I want to go to Bangkok for holidays. And maybe I don't want to be rude, so I say, do you mean in Thailand? And this user goes, yeah. I go like, okay, I need to help them. I need to find some hotels for them in Thailand. Now what I can do is I can use the AI support I have over here where I have a special flow or a special AI defined for the agent where I can search hotels. So I say Bangkok, and now I get some results for that here, and I can look at these results here, and I can forward this information to the user with a single click. I can preview the information again, and then I can send it to the user who now receives the gallery with the different hotels in Bangkok. The user says, oh wow, great. And I say, have fun selecting a hotel, and hand the conversation back to the bot by pressing finish. Now what we've done is that we have transferred context from the agent to the user. The user context knows which hotels we are seeing here, and I can select one and now continue my booking process as if I had found these hotels as a user myself. Now that is what the Cognigy Live Chat is all about, and we encourage everyone to play around with it. It is available as of today. Now there are, of course, some other nice new features as well that we can't show here in the webinar, but that we can talk about a little bit. For example, we have a new NLP connector. We previously had NLP connectors for Cognigy NLP, Alexa Skills Kit, Google Dialogflow, Microsoft Lewis, and by customer request, we have now also added an IBM Watson Assistant NLP connector. So you can use IBM Watson NLP directly from within Cognigy if you want to. We've added a small but powerful new feature around date detection. So you can now configure date detection in a way that will always detect dates in the future. So today it's Thursday. Even if I say Wednesday, it knows that I'm not referring to yesterday, but that I'm actually referring to next Wednesday. A big new feature is our enhanced Cognigy NLU. With 3.1, we introduced a new beta version of a new NLP and NLU algorithm. And with this version now, we've made this the default in Cognigy because it performs so well. It reaches amazing scores, and if you go to our GitHub repository, you can find some performance metrics around that compared to other systems in the market like Lewis or Dialogflow. We've also worked on the UI, so intent management has now become even easier, and you can use tags that come from your lexicons in the example sentences. We've also added a feature where intents can now be up and downloaded as JSON and as CSV. What that means is that non-technical users can go in and manage and change their intents from within Excel, and then they can upload them back into the system. So you could have someone who's in charge of intents who doesn't even have to use the Cognigy UI, but who can work in the tools that they use on a daily basis, like for example Excel. Last but not least, we have a quite technical feature, but I know that some of the more hardcore developers here on the call will really love it. In Cognigy, you have the ability to switch and execute flows. Previously, you had to select the flow that you wanted to switch to or execute from a drop-down, but we've now also enabled the option to get to the correct flow by providing an ID. So we've provided a text field where you can enter the ID. Small change for us, big change for a lot of developers that now don't have to write code for this, but they can actually use the Cognigy AI to provide super advanced functionality. That's it for Cognigy AI 3.2. I hope you liked what you saw. From today on, Cognigy is available in the on-premise and SaaS versions. I know it says available as of this week, but it's actually available as of today. And the new Cognigy AI 3.2 trainings will start in January, both in Europe and in the United States. If you want a personalized demo, you can contact us today and one of our sales reps will reach out. You can either go to this website down here, hello.cognigy.com/cognigy-demo, or you can contact us on email, and you can see my email address here on the screen and our generic email address, info@cognigy.com, a little bit further down. With that, I want to say thank you for your interest. As I said, I hope you liked what you saw. We are at least very proud of what we've built here, really pushing the boundaries of conversational AI, and we can't wait to see what you're going to build with our solution. Thank you very much.